Mystery at the Blind Frog Ranch. The Utah desert stretched endlessly, a barren landscape scorched by sun and wind. Jagged rocks and skeletal sagebrush guarded secrets older than memory. Beneath this unforgiving terrain, Blind Frog Ranch lay restless, its caverns and waterways humming with enigmas. Episode 6 carried the weight of all that had been uncovered and all that still resisted the light. The search for truth had become a journey through shadows, where every solution raised sharper questions. The uneasy beginning the morning came heavy with dust and silence. Equipment littered the site. Ropes, scanners, heavy machinery, yet nothing felt secure. The earth itself seemed to resist intrusion. A sense of watchfulness hung in the air, as though unseen eyes had been marking every movement since the first shovel touched the soil. At the center of it all stood the pond, deceptively still, a black mirror that concealed an underground labyrinth. Beneath its surface, divers had vanished into an alien world of flooded tunnels. Strange wooden beams, misplaced artifacts, and sudden currents hinted at an intelligence that had shaped these spaces long before modern men dared trespass. Episode 6 framed itself as the moment when pieces aligned, or so it seemed. Solutions emerged, tentative yet alluring. But the ranch did not yield them freely. Every discovery was paired with unease, a whisper of danger on the periphery. Subterranean revelations. The cavern system beneath the pond had always been the heart of speculation. Now, scanners mapped voids stretching further than anyone expected. Cavities intersected in unnatural geometry, too straight, too deliberate for random erosion. Divers retrieved samples, timbers cut with tools not native to the desert, mineral veins showing signs of extraction centuries earlier. Radiometric analysis suggested timelines that clashed with accepted history. How could hand-hewn beams of oak lie preserved under Utah limestone? The puzzle mocked reason as equipment hummed. The walls themselves seemed to breathe. Metallic traces surfaced in sediment samples, gold flecks, mercury residues, even rare earth elements. Legends of hidden treasure, whispered since settlers first crossed this valley, now carried a scientific echo. But treasure in Blind Frog Ranch was never just coins and jewels. It was knowledge, relics, or perhaps even a map left by cultures erased from memory. The Skinwalker Shadowno exploration at Blind Frog Ranch escaped the local law. The Ute stories of skinwalkers, the shape-shifting guardians, shadowed every excavation. Animals fled the area with unnatural agitation. Machinery failed inexplicably, as though circuits shorted in protest. Episode 6 carried this undertone more strongly than ever. Surveillance cameras captured distortions, flickers of shadow where no figure stood, spheres of light darting across the night horizon. The crew catalogued them clinically, but the desert kept its mystique. What if the ranch itself was not merely ground but a threshold? The caverns could be less about hiding treasure and more about sealing something in or out. The Spanish Connection historical whispers pointed to Spanish conquistadors, their expeditions stretching further north than official maps admitted. Legends told of mines and caches hidden to escape native resistance or rival empires. Episode 6 brought forward an unsettling piece of evidence, a carved symbol, unearthed from sediment, strikingly similar to Spanish mining markers used in the 16th century called "the beams below belong to their encampments." If so, why bury them beneath waterlogged caverns inaccessible even to modern divers? Unless concealment was deliberate, a strategy to protect sacred or stolen wealth. Solutions teased clarity but fractured under scrutiny. Each artifact spoke a different language, yet all seemed to insist on the same conclusion. Something immensely valuable had been hidden here, and it was never meant to be reclaimed easily. Gold, mercury, and alchemical analysis deepened the riddle. Samples showed not just gold traces but mercury, historically tied to refining processes. This was not the scatter of accidental deposits. It hinted at knowledge of metallurgy. Whoever left it behind was refining ore, not merely hoarding it. Alchemy threaded into the narrative. Medieval Spanish explorers were steeped in its lore, chasing transmutation and eternal life. Could these caverns have served as a clandestine laboratory? Mercury pools, timber reinforcements, hidden chambers. It painted the image of a forgotten workshop where Earth itself had been forced to yield secrets. The thought was unsettling. Blind Frog Ranch was no longer just about buried treasure. It was about human obsession with bending natural law. And obsession often leaves behind curses as enduring as artifacts. The aerial anomaly above ground. The mysteries multiplied. Aerial surveys revealed magnetic anomalies clustering near the pond. Instruments wavered as if reacting to buried structures or an energy source beneath the rock. Maps layered together showed impossible consistencies. A triangle of disturbances forming around the main cavern entrance. This was no accident of geology. It was engineered or orchestrated. Solutions began forming in the crew's notes. The Spanish miners theory, the alchemical refinery theory, the indigenous guardianship theory. But each overlapped awkwardly, like puzzle pieces from different sets forced into the same frame. The ranch fight's back no progress came without consequence. In the days surrounding the discoveries, incidents escalated. Vehicles refused to start. Water pumps overloaded. One worker swore his wristwatch spun backwards before stopping entirely. The ranch had its own rhythm, one that punished intrusion. The crew documented these as mechanical failures, but unease crept deeper. Was it psychological strain? Electromagnetic interference? Or something stranger, an active resistance, a defense mechanism of the land itself? Episode 6 captured this tension vividly. Every solution brought exhilaration and dread in equal measure. The deeper they went, the more dangerous it felt. Patterns in stone satellite imagery added one final twist. When overlaid with maps of the caverns, the anomalies formed geometric shapes, lines too clean, circles too perfect. Some compared them to sacred geometry, others to mining grids. The pattern aligned eerily with ancient petroglyphs found miles away, carvings no one had connected until now. The implication was staggering. Different cultures across centuries might have interacted with this site. Leaving behind overlapping imprints, the ranch was not simply a treasure vault. It was a crossroads, used and reused by those chasing something more than gold. The unfinished solution B, the close of episode 6, solutions, felt less like answers and more like refined mysteries. The crew stood at the threshold of understanding, yet still blind to the core truth. Artifacts suggested Spanish presence, science suggested alchemy, folklore suggested guardianship, and geology suggested impossible architecture. Perhaps the real solution was that there was no single narrative. Blind Frog Ranch was a palimpsest, each generation writing its secrets onto the land, layering gold over myth, science over superstition, until the lines blurred. What lay in the caverns might never be claimed fully. The solutions were glimpses, fractured mirrors reflecting different truths. To dig deeper meant risking not only the wrath of nature, but the collapse of sanity itself. Closing reflections. As the credits rolled on Season 1, Episode 6, the atmosphere remained electric with uncertainty. The ranch had given just enough to confirm its importance, but withheld the essence of its secret. Gold shimmered in silt. Beams whispered of conquistadors. Mercury hinted at forbidden science, and shadows lingered at the edges of camera frames. The desert wind carried no answers, only the dry rustle of sage and the silence of stone. Blind Frog Ranch did not reveal solutions. It revealed the cost of seeking them. Each answer was a doorway into another mystery, each discovery a reminder that some truths are not meant to be unearthed. And so the watchers waited, as the desert swallowed the echoes of machines, guarding its secret heart for another season, another reckoning, another attempt to solve what perhaps was never meant to be solved. Morning came with a pale, metallic hush, as if the desert had been tempered in a forge during the night and allowed to cool under a skin of wind. Sagebrush rattled like dry bones. The pond at the heart of Blind Frog Ranch lay motionless, a dark pupil set in an ochre eye, reflecting only the hard rim of sky and the patient crowns of cottonwoods. On the bank, cables coiled like sleeping snakes, oxygen tanks leaned in a regimented row, and the diver's platform wobbled slightly over the water's black mouth. Everything waited. The land waited most of all. The work of days had folded into the promise of one. Instruments had been checked and rechecked. Batteries charged to an unblinking green. Ropes measured to depths beyond the last marker. There had been maps, hand-drawn lines that trembled, satellite imagery with its crisp certainty, ground-penetrating scans that transformed Earth into lighter and darker ghosts. Each scatter of data had outlined voids beneath the pond, then voids behind voids, until the subterranean picture was less a map than a layered refusal. The ranch had a way of opening doors that were also walls.